Let's see. If you can see me say something. I don't know why my Wi-Fi is acting funny, but good morning, everyone. I have a good topic for you guys today. Welcome joining, those of us joining in Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for joining. Let me introduce myself. My name is Ayesha Chidolue. I'm an immigration attorney here in Orlando, Florida. I represent clients all over the United States and internationally with your Immigration Matter. Hi, Paper Bar on Instagram. Thanks for tuning in. So my number here is 7995-6567. If you're on Facebook and YouTube, I'm sure you can see it on the ticker. If you're on Instagram, you can check my profile. My number is on there. Hi, Obioma. Today I have for you guys. So I want to talk about proving abuse and what constitutes abuse. Hi, Adrian. Thanks for tuning in from Boston. Oh, yeah, I forgot to say that. I love to know where you guys are tuning in from. So put in the comment whether you're on Instagram or Facebook where you're tuning in from. I'm obviously here in Florida. The weather is really nice. I hope you finally have power back in Texas, and you guys are, settling in. And so feel free while I'm talking to ask your questions. I will try to answer as many of your questions as possible once I finish talking about what I want to talk about. So, a lot of times, people ask me the question, when they want to file self-petitions based on VAWA. How do they prove abuse, or if there was not any kind of like physical violence? And so that's what I want to talk about. But real quick, for those that are new here or who have never heard the word VAWA, VAWA is a type of application process that will allow the abused spouse of a U.S. citizen or green card holder to get their own green card without that abuser. It also applies to parents. If your child is a U.S. citizen and is abusive towards you, you would also qualify. It also applies to children if your parents are U.S. citizens or green card holders, or if you're a stepchild with a U.S. citizen or green card holder parent that is abusive towards you, it also applies to you. So I'm just going to give you sort of like a broad overview. I have my notes here so I don't forget everything. So of course, there's going to be physical abuse. There's going to be emotional abuse, sexual abuse, financial abuse, verbal abuse, and psychological abuse, right? So for some people, they have physical abuse where your spouse, or your parent or child is physically hitting you and punching you or doing whatever it is that they're doing. But for some other people, a lot of it is going to be emotional and psychological. Believe it or not, like that is actually the most common kinds of abuse you see. And so what typically, one is looking for when you're looking to see, what a victim has gone through is the pattern of emotional or psychological manipulation that happens. So I'm just going to give you guys some examples. Like, if you have a spouse or a family member, a parent or, child that when they get angry, like they're smashing things, they're punching the walls, so even though they're not hitting you physically, these are things that could potentially put a person in apprehension and over time make you fearful, for your life. And if next time, you could be the next punching bag. If you have a spouse who uses your immigration status to gain control, over you, or try to use that as a way to manipulate you or make you do stuff and tell you, well, you owe me because I'm married to you and you don't bring anything to the table. And I'm the one who's a green card holder, or I'm the one who's a U.S. citizen, and I'm the one who brings stuff to the table. Or if your spouse does something to you and you want to call the cops, and they don't want you to call the cops, or they threaten you that if you call the cops, they will take your child away, or they will take your green card away, or they will have you arrested. or they'll file a false police report and that they're going to believe them. So these are just some examples. Obviously, this list is exhaustive, but I just want to kind of give you examples of the different categories. So a lot of that is going to go into the psychology of a person and in their mind, how they're thinking, So a lot of times, those that are abused are not going to have police reports. And the reason why they're not going to have police reports is because, sorry guys, I'm just fixing my my Instagram. I think I just lost my live connection. If you're on Instagram, let me know if I'm back on live. I don't know what happened. So a lot of times people are not going to have a police report. And why are they not going to have a police report? It's not because they don't want to report. It's because they're terrified. If somebody tells you that you're going to lose your child, because you're undocumented, Instagram, I don't know what's happening. You guys might have to jump over to Facebook, because I am just losing signal on Instagram and it's distracting. Okay, so if you if somebody's telling you all of that stuff, you're not going to report to the cops because you really don't know the rules. You don't know the laws. All you see is that, I'm an immigrant in this country. If they call the cops, they're probably going to believe the US citizen. So a lot of times people suffer in silence. And that's why I talk about this a lot. Like, you don't have to suffer in silence, right? Okay, you guys can see me on IG, great. And then there's verbal abuse. Like, what kinds of names are they calling you? Are they calling you out of your name? Just making you feel less than, like, talking about the way you look, your appearance, how you dress, how you smell. Like, these are all things that, are verbally, can mess you up, in the mind, where you lose your self-esteem and, you need therapy. And then, of course, there's financial abuse. Like, if you're working, let's say you work under the table, and your spouse is threatening you that they're going to call ICE on you because you're working under the table, or, they're going to report you to the IRS, or they force you to work, because obviously if you're here undocumented, you technically should not be working. But if, let's say, your spouse is like, well, I don't really care that you're not supposed to be working because you don't have your work permit, but you must work. You must bring food to the table. Or sometimes you'll be with somebody who decides, you know what, now that you're married to me, I'm going to just fold my hands and sit down while you work and make all the money. Because after all, I'm a US citizen. And, if not for me, you're not going to have anything, right? So that happens too. And that's just, or even if they deny you, like, access to your family finances, family income, they have access to your own bank accounts, but you don't have access to their own bank accounts. When you go shopping, you have to show them a receipt. You have to check in with them and say, this is how much I spend, item by item. Or, you're going to have some people, whether it's parents or children or spouses, where a way that they will mess with you financially is where they will, if they are the one who provides for you financially, they will stop the provision. So, like, if they're angry with you, they will not give you money to eat. They will not give you money for the kids. If the kids need something for school, they won't give you, and you have to figure it out just so that, they can control you. Or even if you want to advance or better yourself, right? And they refuse for you to go to college, or they don't want to file for you because they feel that if they file for you, you're going to advance yourself, you're going to go to college, you're going to go to school and get a better job than them, because, some people are jealous of their partners, right? Again, this list is not exhaustive. I'm just sort of giving you guys ideas of other areas, that can be abusive other than physical abuse. And, again, it's not just one thing. Usually we look for a pattern, when, I'm trying to assess the situation. And usually if there's one thing, there's usually something else, where it will tie into, a psychological effect or an emotional effect. And then, of course, there's sexual abuse, right? Some people don't believe that you need consent, if you're married, that you can do whatever you want, but that's rape, right? If you say no to your spouse and your spouse rapes you, that's abuse. In the case of children, if you're being molested, that's, obviously automatic, sexual battery. So those are some examples there. And also even down to if your spouse is trying to trap you to get pregnant or trying to put you at risk of an STD because they're sleeping around. Like, so these are all different kinds of sexual abuse that don't necessarily mean that somebody is raping you. So, again, why I'm talking about this is because, I want you guys to understand that it's not one way or the other, that there are just so many variables. So it's really critical that, if you feel like you're dealing with any of these things, that you speak to an attorney, so we can assess the pattern and what's going on and your likelihood, of, qualifying and applying and being successful, with your case. And then, of course, there's emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is going to tie in a lot with your psychological abuse and how your spouse talks down to you and how they make you feel less than, or how they make fun of your heritage, where you're from, how you speak, they try to basically hide behind, like in public, they're this wonderful spouses or wonderful parents, and then once you get in, you're in hell. So those are some examples of emotional. And you guys definitely leave your comments. I'm just wrapping up to the last one, and I'm going to start taking your questions. This is a short live today, but I'm going to try and take as many questions as possible before I jump into my next meeting. And then the last one I want to talk about was, physical abuse. So of course, we have the traditional physical abuse where your spouse physically, either pushes you, pulls you, hits you, or does any of all that stuff to you, right? Those are all things that are considered physical abuse. But then, you want to look at things like, is your spouse somebody who, if you guys got in a fight, let's say you're in a car, the person starts driving recklessly, right? Wanting almost like they want to hit you or kill you or rear you off the road or kill both of you, right? So even though they're not physically touching you, but they're putting your life in this Instagram is killing me today, guys. But they put your life in apprehension. They put you in apprehension of danger or something that's going to happen to you. Physical abuse also could be denying somebody access to medical care, saying you're not going to put them on your insurance. Or if you do something to them, you don't want them to call 911 or get help, or, get better. And stuff like that, or you abandon your family with no money, no food, no nothing, or you restrict them and trap them in the house. They can't leave the house because there's no car, there's no money, they can't take a bus, they can't go anywhere. So, so I know I've just talked a mouthful, but I just wanted to give you guys some ideas of what the different types of abuse could be. I know some people ask the question, okay, so how do we prove the abuse? So the thing is, USCIS will take any credible evidence. So any evidence of credibility, so there's not one requirement that will make your case or one requirement that will break your case. So it's a compilation and a combination of different things put together that makes your case. And I can talk about that in another live. But let me try and answer some questions here. Princess says, that's crazy. I just want to help this person. People that do that are sick, just to be honest. Just be honest and do people right. Yeah, people are definitely sick. People do stuff all the time that, is not right, and they take advantage of people who they feel are innocent, and do that stuff. So Macedonia, thanks for tuning in from Washington State. What time is it in Washington? That's early for you. It should be about 8 a.m. I think. So if someone is 54 years old and going for a citizenship interview, will they pressure him to answer all the questions? And if they read that properly? So the answer really is that, it depends, so sometimes if you have a learning disability and you submitted your application showing that you have a learning disability, they can make an exemption for you. Otherwise, there are other things that you're going to need to prove. 54 is kind of on the cusp. You need to be like, 55, but even at that, you still need to answer the questions. What's just going to happen is, let's say the person can't speak English, you'll be allowed to get an interpreter if you can't speak English. The only time that they will exempt you from questioning completely is if you have a learning disability. Otherwise, if you're, I want to say it's 65 and you've had your green card for Don't quote me on this. I don't remember off the top of my head whether it's 20 years. I want to say, yeah, 20 years or something like that. You get, your questions you have a condensed version of the questions. But honestly, the questions are really not that difficult, really. I mean, you only have to answer 6 out of 10 questions correctly. So, I'm sure you guys heard the news last week. Last year in December, they basically asked for people to start studying more questions, and that they would ask 10 out of 20 questions. But USCIS decided that it's going to be hard for people, so they're going to go back to the other way which they do it, which is 6 questions out of 10. So how it is that they'll be asking you questions, and as you answer, you're allowed to basically fail only. So out of the 10 questions they ask you, you're only allowed to fail 4. So if they ask you a question and you fail it, they'll go to the next question, and they will keep going, until you answer it. Same thing with regards to writing. It's simple. It's like a sentence. They just tell you to read one sentence, and then they tell you to write one sentence. So just, if you have at least a basic understanding of English, you should be fine. Honestly, the questions are not that bad. Shyman says, I have a question for you. Okay, you can schedule a consult if it's a personal question that I can answer here. You can definitely schedule a consult. So the paper bar on Instagram says, if you know this is happening, what is the safest way to help a friend in this situation? The safest way, honestly, is to either talk to your friend privately, because I will tell you, some spouses are crazy, where some spouses have access to their spouses' phones or their email, their password. Well, first and foremost, the first thing they need to do is they need to be changing their email and password, and maybe they can confide in a trusted friend and use that friend as a liaison to reach out to us. When we take these cases, we take our victims and their safety very, very seriously. We don't even send emails. We use a client portal where at that point you have to have created your own personal email. Same thing, USCIS is not going to send letters to your home address or your spouse's address. They will always send it to us, your lawyer's office, as your safe address. And before we send that mail out, we always ask our clients, where is a safe address? Where is it safe to send it to you? Sometimes if you need to get out, we recommend you to, different, domestic violence shelters and, places where you can stay, if it's, depending on how bad it is, and sometimes you have people who are just like, oh, my spouse is mean, but, they're just so afraid. They just don't want to leave them, or somewhere in their mind, they feel that if they leave them, they'll be screwed. They won't get their green card. They'll get deported. But, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to. You don't have to stay in an abusive marriage, where you can't even come, you can't even go. You're fearful every day your partner is there. You have options. So Jean asks, do you take asylum cases right now? No, I don't take asylum cases. Okay, so Charmaine said that he got turned down, that he's had his green card for 20 years and he went there last year, and they turned him down. Yeah, he needs a letter showing that he has a learning disability. If he does have a learning disability. So let me see if there are any other questions on Instagram or Facebook. I'm going to be jumping off in 6 minutes. So if you have any other questions, you can put it down in the next 6 minutes. I'll try to answer you. So somebody says, I want to bring my 5-year-old from Jamaica. What's the form I should fill and what? So that question is loaded. That's not just what it's about, bringing your 5-year-old, just filling out a form. There are things that need to be done to, determine the relationship and all of that stuff. Happy to help you. Call my office, 407-995-6567. I will stress again, immigration is not just about filling forms, guys. That is the quickest way. If you have that mentality, that is the quickest way to get an RFE or a notice of intent to deny. You want to have a properly prepared packet, meaning your forms, supporting evidence, anything that creates a gap. You want to try to tackle that and front load in your application so that you increase your chances of approval. Because what happens? You send it, they say, this is not complete, this is not complete, this is not complete. For each time you do that, you're sending your case backwards, right? Because they're going to request for additional evidence. So for each time you delay that, you're getting back on rotation. So it's always best to do it the right way. Take your green card seriously, take your daughter's green card seriously. This is an investment, right, in your future and being here in America. So you should always consider legal counsel for something like that. At least in this current world of immigration. Somebody said, please, how long does it take for an approval on VAWA cases? So really the answer is that it depends. It could take anywhere from 24 months to 2.5 years. But every case is different, so even though I'm giving you this number, there are going to be some people that get approved before that time. And there are going to be some people that get approved after that time. But this is the middle ground, that 24 months, 25 months, 26 months. That's the middle ground. The time used to be a little shorter before the pandemic, but this is kind of the average we're seeing. But keep in mind, though, if you do apply for VAWA and you qualify to do your adjustment of status at the same time when you submit your VAWA application, you will be able to get your work permit and your travel authorization much earlier than the approval of that. So you would get, you'll be able to get your work permit within 6 to 8 months, which is just your work permit that you're getting based on the adjustment of status. And then when they approve you for VAWA, you also get a different kind of work permit, same work permit, but a different category, which is basically saying that, you're an approved VAWA applicant. So that one comes later in the process. And that's why if you do qualify to adjust your status, meaning apply for a green card simultaneously at the same time as your VAWA petition, we try to do it together. Okay, so let's see, what other questions do we have here? Do we accept walk-ins? No, we do not accept walk-ins. You have to schedule a consultation. Our consultations book pretty quickly. So if you come in here, you would just be waiting forever and you would not get any appointments. Plus, because of the pandemic right now, we're doing all of our consults with a few exceptions via Zoom video. If Zoom video doesn't work for you, we can do a phone consultation. Once you hire us, and you need to come to the office to drop off your documents or sign. If you're having problems using your client portal, you can do that. But you can't walk in without an appointment. You have to call and make an appointment because you have to get on our calendar. So how long does it take USCIS to call you for a swear-in when you submit your additional evidence? Not really sure I understand this question. Swear-in for what? Like, what is this? What are you approved for? Is this naturalization? Is this green card? Like, what is it? Let me know. Okay, guys, I'm going to be jumping off now. Let me just make sure Instagram is not neglected. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to be jumping off right now. I thank you guys for tuning in. Again, if you want to reach me, 407-995-6567. I'm going to save the live both on Facebook and Instagram so you can go back and watch the replay, or if you need to share it with your friends, or family members who that are dealing with this. But, be very discreet because, again, you have some people who are crazy and stuff like that. All right, guys, have a wonderful Wednesday. All right. Bye.